Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Kinitsugis Storytime. I'm your host, Kinitsugi, and this evening I will be reading you another 3 chapters of Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. So, how about you all come along, and I will get right on that. Hop right to that. Oh, where did we leave off? Oh, Chapter 10. I ruin a perfectly good bus. It didn't take me long to pack. I decided to leave the Minotaur horn at my cabin, which left me only an extra change of clothes and a toothbrush to stuff in the backpack Grover had found for me. The camp store loaned me $100 in mortal money and 20 golden drachmas. These coins were as big as Girl Scout cookies and had images of various Greek gods stamped on one side and the Empire State Building on the other. The ancient mortal drachmas had been silver, Chiron told us, but Olympians never used less than pure gold. Chiron said the coins might come in handy for non-mortal transactions, whatever that meant. He gave Annabeth and me each a flask of nectar and an airtight bag full of ambrosia squares to be used only in emergencies and if we were seriously hurt. It was god food, Chiron reminded us. It would cure us of almost any injury, but it was lethal to mortals. Too much of it would make a half-blood very, very feverish, and an overdose would burn us up. Literally. Annabeth was bringing her magic Yankees cap, which she told me had been a 25th birthday present from her mom. So sorry. Blah, blah, blah. She carried a book on famous classical architecture, written in ancient Greek, to read when she got bored, and a long bronze knife hidden in her short sleeve. I was sure the knife would get us busted the first time we went through a metal detector. Grover wore his fake feet and his trousers to pass as human. He wore a green Rasta-style cap, and when it rained, his curly hair flattened. You could just see the tip of his horns. His bright orange backpack was full of scrap metal and apples to snack on. In his pocket was a set of reed pipes his daddy goat had carved for him, even though he only knew 2 songs: Mozart's Piano Concerto No. 12 and Hilary Duff's So Yesterday, both of them which sounded pretty bad on reed pipes. We waved goodbye to our other campers, took one last look at the strawberry fields, the ocean, and the big house, and then hiked up to Half Blood Hill to the tall pine tree that used to be Thalia, the daughter of Zeus. Chiron was waiting for us in his wheelchair. Next to him stood the surfer dude I'd seen when I was recovering in the sick room. According to Grover, the guy was the camp's head of security. He supposedly had eyes all over his body so he could never be surprised. Today, though, he was wearing a chauffeur's uniform, so I could only see the extra peepers on the back of his hands, face, and neck. This is Argus, Chiron told me. He will drive you to the city and, well, keep an eye on things. I heard footsteps behind us. Luke came running up the hill carrying a pair of basketball shoes. Hey, he panted, I'm glad I caught you. Annabeth blushed the way she always did when Luke was around. Just wanted to say good luck, Luke told me, and I thought, maybe you could use these. He handed me the sneakers, which looked pretty normal. They even smelled kind of normal. Luke said, Maya. White bird wings sprouted out of the heels, startling me so much I dropped them. The shoes flapped up on the ground until the wings folded up and disappeared. Awesome, Grover said. Luke smiled. Those served me well when I was on my quest. Gift from Dad. Of course, I don't use them much these days. His expression turned sad. I didn't know what to say. It was cool enough that Luke had come to say goodbye. I'm afraid he might resent me for getting so much attention the last few days, but here he was, giving me a magic gift. Made me blush almost as much as Annabeth. Hey, man, I said. Thanks. Listen, Percy. Luke looked uncomfortable. A lot of hopes riding on you, so just kill some monsters for me, okay? We shook hands. Luke patted Grover's head between his horns and gave a goodbye hug to Annabeth, who looked like she might pass out. After Luke was gone, I told her, You're ventilating. I am not. You let him capture the flag instead of you, didn't you? Oh, I want to go anywhere with you, Percy. She stomped down the other side of the hill, where a white SUV waited on the shoulder of the road. Argus followed, jingling his car keys. I picked up the flying shoes, and I had a sudden bad feeling. I looked at Chiron. I won't be able to use these, will I? He shook his head. Luke meant well, Percy, but taking to the air would not be wise for you. I nodded, disappointed, but then I got an idea. Yo, Grover, you want a magic item? His eyes lit up. Me? Pretty soon we'd lace the sneakers over his fake feet, and the world's first flying goat boy was ready for launch. Maya, he shouted. He got off the ground okay, but then fell over sideways so his backpack dragged through the grass. The winged shoes kept bucking up and down like tiny broncos. Practice, Chiron called after him. You just need practice. Ah. Grover went flying sideways down the hill like a possessed lawnmower, heading towards the van. Before I could follow, Chiron caught my arm. I should have trained you better, Percy, he said. If only I had more time. Hercules, Jason, they all got more training. That's okay. I just wish. I stopped myself because I was about to sound like a brat. I was wishing my dad had given me a cool magic item to help on the quest. Something as good as Luke's flying shoes or Annabeth's invisible cap. What am I thinking? Chiron cried. I can't let you get away without this. He pulled a pen from his coat pocket and handed it to me. It was an ordinary disposable ballpoint, black ink, removable cap. Probably cost 30 cents. Gee, I said. Thanks. Percy, that's a gift from your father. I've kept it for years, not knowing you were the one I was waiting for, but the prophecy is clear to me now, and you are the one. I remembered the field trip to Metropolitan Museum of Art when I'd vaporized Miss Dodds. Chiron had thrown me a pen that turned into a sword. Could this be? I took off the cap, and the pen grew longer and heavier in my hand. In half a second, I held a shimmering bronze sword with a double-edged blade, leather-wrapped grip, and a flat hilt riveted with gold studs. It was the first weapon that actually felt balanced in my hand. The sword has a long and tragic history that we need not to go into, Chiron told me. Its name is Anaklusmos. Riptide, I translated, surprised the ancient Greek came so easily. Use it only for emergencies, Chiron said, and only against monsters. No hero should harm mortals unless absolutely necessary, of course, but this sword wouldn't harm them in any case. I looked at the wickedly sharp blade. What do you mean it wouldn't harm mortals? How could it not? The sword is celestial bronze, forged by the Cyclops, tempered in the heat of Mount so sorry. Cooled in the river Lethe. It's deadly to monsters, to any creature from the underworld, provided that they don't kill you first. But the blade will pass through mortals like an illusion. They simply are not important enough for the blade to kill, and I should warn you, as demigod, you can be killed by either celestial or normal weapons, making you twice as vulnerable. Good to know. Now recap the pen. Touch the pen cap to the sword, and instantly Riptide shrank to a ballpoint pen again. I tucked it in my pocket, a little nervous because I was famous for losing pens at school. You can't, Chiron said. Can't what? Lose the pen, he said. It's enchanted. It will always reappear in your pockets. Try it. I was wary, but I threw the pen as far as I could down the hill and watched it disappear into the grass. It may take a few moments, Chiron told me. Now check your pocket. Sure enough, the pen was there. Okay, that's extremely cool, I admitted. But what if a mortal sees me pulling out a sword? Chiron smiled. The mist is a powerful thing, Percy. Mist? Yes, read the Iliad. It's full of references to the stuff. Whenever divine or monstrous elements mix with a mortal word, well, they generate mist, which obscures the vision of humans. You will see things just as they are, being a half-blood, but humans will interpret things quite differently. Remarkable, really, the length to which humans will go to fit things into their version of reality. I put Riptide back in my pocket. For the first time, the quest felt real. I was actually leaving Half-Blood Hill. I was heading west with no adult supervision, no backup plan, and not even a cell phone. Sharon said cell phones were traceable by monsters. If we used one, it would be worse than setting up a flare. I had no weapon stronger than a sword to fight off the monsters and reach the land of the dead. Chiron, I said, when you say the gods are immortal, I mean there was like a time before them, right? 4 ages before them, actually. The time of the Titans was the fourth age, sometimes called the Golden Age, which is definitely a misnomer. This, the time of Western civilization and the rule of Zeus, is the fifth age. So what was it like? before the gods. Chiron pursed his lips. Even I'm not old enough to remember that, child, but I know it was a time of darkness and savagery for mortals. Kronos, the lord of the Titans, called his reign the Golden Age because men lived innocent and free of all knowledge, but that was mere propaganda. The Titan King cared nothing for your kind except as appetizers or a source of cheap entertainment. It was only in the early reign of Lord Zeus, when Prometheus, the good Titan, brought fire to mankind, that your species began to progress. And even then, Prometheus was branded a radical thinker. Zeus punished him severely, as you may recall. Of course, eventually the gods warmed to humans and Western civilization was born. But the gods can't die now, right? I mean, as long as Western civilization is alive, they're alive. So even if I failed, nothing could happen so bad it would mess up everything, right? Chiron gave me a melancholy smile. No one knows how long the Age of the West will last, Percy. The gods are immortal, yes, but then so are the Titans. They still exist, locked away in their various prisons, forced to endure endless pain and punishment, reduced in power, but still very much alive. May the fates forbid that the gods ever suffer such a doom, or that we should ever return to the darkness and the chaos of the past. All we can do, child, is follow our destiny. Our destiny. Assuming we know what that is. Relax, Chiron told me. Keep a clear head, and remember, you may be able to prevent the biggest war in human history. Relax, I said. I'm very relaxed. When I got to the bottom of the hill, I looked back. Under the pine tree that used to be Thalia, daughter of Zeus, Chiron was now standing in full horseman form, holding his bow high in salute. Just your typical summer camp send-off by your typical centaur. Argus drove us out of the countryside and into western Long Island. It felt weird to be on a highway again. Annabeth and Grover sitting next to me as if we were just normal carpoolers. After 2 weeks at Haplet Hill, the real world seemed like a fantasy. I found myself staring at every McDonald's, every kid in the back of his parents' car, every billboard, every shopping mall. So far, so good, I told Annabeth. 10 miles, not a single monster. She gave me an irritated look. Bad luck to talk that way, seaweed brain. Remind me again, why do you hate me so much? I don't hate you. You could have fooled me. She folded her cap of invisibility. Look, we're not supposed to get along, okay? Our parents are rivals. Why? She sighed. How many reasons do you want? One time, my mom got beside with his girlfriend in Athena's temple, which is hugely disrespectful. Another time, Athena and Poseidon competed to be the patron god of the city of Athens. Your dad created some stupid saltwater spring for his gift, and my mom created the olive tree. The people saw that her gift was better, so they named the city after her. Oh, they must really like olives. Get it. Now, if she'd invented pizza, that I could understand. I said forget it. In the front seat, Argus smiled. He didn't say anything, but that one blue eye on the back of his head winked at me. Traffic slowed us down in Queens, and by the time we got to Manhattan, it was sunset and starting to rain. Argus dropped us off in the Greyhound station on Upper East Side, not far from my mom and Gabe's apartment. Taped to a mailbox was a soggy flyer with my picture on it. Have you seen this boy? I ripped it down before Annabeth and Grover could notice. Argus unloaded our bags, make sure we got our bus tickets, and then drove away, the eye on the back of his hand opening to watch us as he pulled out of the parking lot. I thought about how close I was to my old apartment. On a normal day, my mom would be home from the candy store by now. Smelly Gabe was probably up there right now, playing poker, not even missing her. Grover shouldered his backpack, gazed down the street in the direction I was looking. You want to know why she married him, Percy? I stared at him. Were you reading my mind, or something? Just your emotions, he shrugged. I guess I forgot to tell you satyrs can do that. You were thinking about your mom and your stepdad, right? I nodded, wondering what else Grover might have forgotten to tell me. Your mom married Gabe for you, Grover told me. You call him smelly, but you've got no idea. That guy has this aura. Yuck. I can smell it from here. I can smell traces of him on you, and you haven't been near him in like a fortnight. Thanks, I said. Where's the nearest shower? You should be grateful, Percy. Your stepfather smells so repulsively human that he could mask the presence of any demigod. As soon as I took a whiff inside his Camaro, I knew. Gabe had been covering your scent for years. If you hadn't lived with him every summer, you probably would have been found by monsters a long time ago. Your mom stayed with him to protect you. She was a smart lady. She must have loved you a whole lot to put up with that guy, if that makes you feel any better. It didn't, but I forced myself not to show it. I'll see her again, I thought. She's gone. I wondered if Grover could still read my emotions, mixed up as they were. I was glad he and Annabeth were here with me, but I felt guilty that I hadn't been straight with them, that I hadn't told him the real reason I'd said yes to this crazy quest. Truth was, I didn't care about retrieving Zeus's lightning bolt, or saving the world, or even helping my dad out of trouble. The more I thought about it, I resented Poseidon for never visiting me, never helping my mom, never sending a lousy child support check. He'd only claim me because he needed a job done. All I cared about was my mom. Hades had taken her unfairly, and Hades was going to give her back. You will be betrayed by the one who calls you a friend, the oracle whispered in my mind. You will fail to save what matters most in the end. Shut up, I told it. The rain kept coming down. We got restless waiting for the bus and decided to play some hacky sack with one of Grover's apples. Annabeth was unbelievable. She'd bounce the apple on her knee, elbow, shoulder, whatever. And I wasn't too bad myself. The game ended when I tossed the apple towards Grover and it got too close to his mouth. One big mega goat bite, our hacky sack disappeared, core, stem, and all. Grover blushed. He tried to apologize, but Annabeth and I were too busy cracking up. Finally, the bus came. We stood in line to board. Grover started looking around, sniffing the air like he smelled his favorite school cafeteria delicacy. Enchiladas. What is it? I asked. I don't know, he said tensely. Maybe it's nothing. But I could tell it wasn't nothing. I started looking over my shoulder, too. I was relieved when we finally got on board and found seats together. In the back of the bus. We stowed our backpacks. Annabeth kept slapping her Yankees cap nervously against her thigh. As the passengers got on, Annabeth clamped her hand onto my knee. Percy. The old lady had just boarded the bus. She wore a crumpled velvet dress, lace gloves, and a shapeless orange-knit hat that shadowed her face. She carried a big paisley purse. When she tilted her head up, her black eyes glinted. My heart skipped a beat. It was Miss Dodds. Older, more withered, but definitely that same evil face. I scrunched down in my seat. Behind her came two more old ladies, one in a green hat, one in a purple hat. Otherwise, they looked exactly like Miss Dodds. Same gnarled hands, paisley handbags, wrinkled velvet dresses. Triple demon grandmothers. They sat in the front row, right behind the driver. Two, on the aisle, crossed their legs over the walkway, making an X. It was casual enough, but it sent a very clear message. Nobody leaves. The bus pulled out of the station, and we headed through the slick streets of Manhattan. She didn't stay dead very long, I said, trying to keep my voice from quivering. I thought you said they'd be dispelled for a lifetime. I said if you're lucky, Annabeth said. You're obviously not. All three of them, Grover whimpered. Dia mortalis. It's okay, Annabeth said, obviously thinking hard. Furies. Three worse monsters from the underworld. No problem, no problem. We'll just slip out the windows? They don't open, Grover moaned. Back exit, she said. There wasn't one. And even if there had been, it wouldn't have helped. By that time, we were on the Ninth Avenue, heading for the Lincoln Tunnel. They won't attack us with witnesses around, I said. Will they? Mortals don't have good eyes, Annabeth reminded me. Their brains can only process what they can see through the mist. So they'll see three old ladies killing us, won't they? She thought about it. Hard to say, but you can't really count on mortals for help. Maybe an emergency exit in the roof? We hit the Lincoln Tunnel, and the bus went dark, except for the running lights down the aisle. It was eerily quiet without the sound of the rain. Mrs. Dodds got up, in a flat voice, as if she rehearsed it, and she announced to the whole bus, I need to use the restroom. So do I, said the second sister. So do I, said the third sister. And they all started coming down the aisle. I've got it, Annabeth said. Percy, take my hat. What? You're the one that they want. Turn invisible and go up the aisle. Let them pass you. Maybe you can get up to the front and get away. But you guys, there's an outside chance they might not notice us, Annabeth said. You're one of the big three. Your smell might be overpowering. I can't just leave you. Don't worry about us, Grover said. Go. My hands trembled. I felt like a coward, but I took the Yankees cap and I put it on. When I looked down, my body wasn't there anymore. I started creeping up the aisle. I managed to get up 10 rows and then duck into an empty seat just as the Furies walked past. Miss Dodds stopped, sniffing, and looked straight at me. My heart was pounding. Apparently, she didn't see anything. She and her sisters kept going. I was free. I made it to the front of the bus. We were almost through the Lincoln Tunnel now. I was about to press the emergency stop button when I heard a hideous wailing from the back row. The old ladies were not old ladies anymore. Their faces were still the same. I guess they couldn't get any uglier, but their bodies had shriveled up into those leathery bound brown hag bodies with bats' wings and hands and feet like gargoyle claws. Their handbags had turned into fiery whips. Furies surrounded Grover and Annabeth, lashing their whips, hissing. Where is it? Where? The other people on the bus were screaming, cowering in their seats. They saw something, all right. It's not here, Annabeth yelled. He's gone. The Furies raised their whips. Annabeth drew her bronze knife. Grover grabbed a tin can from his snack bag and prepared to throw it. And what I did next was so impulsive and dangerous, I should have been named ADHD poster child of the year. The bus driver was distracted, trying to see what was going on in the rearview mirror. Still invisible, I grabbed the wheel from him and jerked it to the left. Everybody howled as they were thrown to the right, and I heard what I hoped was the sound of three Furies smashing against the windows. Hey! The driver yelled, Hey, whoa! We wrestled for the wheel. The bus slammed against the side of the tunnel, grinding metal, throwing sparks a mile behind us. We careened out of the Lincoln Tunnel and back into the rainstorm. People and monsters tossed around the cars. Cars plowed aside like bowling pins. Somehow, the driver found an exit. We shot off a highway, through half a dozen traffic lights, and ended up barreling right down one of those New Jersey rural roads that you can't believe there's so much nothing across the river from New York. There were woods to our left, the Hudson River to our right, and the driver seemed to be veering towards the river. Another great idea. I hit the emergency brake. The bus wailed, spun a first circle on the wet tar, and crashed into the trees. The emergency lights came on, and the door flew open. The bus driver was the first one out, the passengers yelling as they stampeded after him. I stepped into the driver's seat and let them pass. The Furies regained their balance. They lashed their whips at Annabeth while she waved her knife and yelled in ancient Greek, telling them to back off. Grover threw tin cans. I looked at the open doorway. I was free to go, but I couldn't leave my friends. I took off the invisible cap. Hey! The Furies turned, baring their yellow fangs at me, and the exit suddenly sounded like an excellent idea. Mrs. Dodd stalked up the aisle, just as she used to in class, about to deliver my -F math test. Every time she flicked her whip, red flames danced along the barbed leather. Her two ugly sisters hopped on top of the seats on either side of her and crawled towards me like huge, nasty lizards. Perseus Jackson, Miss Dodd said, in an accent that was definitely from somewhere further south in Georgia. You have offended the gods. You shall die. I liked you better as a math teacher, I told her. She growled. Annabeth and Grover moved up behind the Furies cautiously, looking for an opening. I took the ballpoint pen out of my pocket and uncapped it, Riptide elongated in a shimmering double-edged sword. The Furies hesitated. Miss Dodds had felt Riptide's blade before. She obviously didn't like seeing it again. Submit now, she hissed, and you will not suffer eternal torment. Nice try, I told her. Percy looked out, Annabeth cried. Mrs. Dodge lashed her whip around my sword hand while the Furies on either side lunged at me. My hand felt like it was wrapped in molten lead, but I managed not to drop Riptide. I struck the Fury on the left with its hilt, sending her toppling backwards into a seat. I turned and sliced the Fury on the right. As soon as the blade connected with her neck, she screamed and exploded into dust. Annabeth got Miss Dodds in a wrestler's hold and yanked her backwards while Grover ripped the whip out of her hands. Ow! He yelled, Hot, hot! The Fury-eyed hilt slam came at me again, talons ready, but I swung Riptide as she broke open, like a piñata. Mrs. Dodds was trying to get Annabeth off her back. She kicked, clawed, hissed, and bit, but Annabeth held on while Grover got Mrs. Dodds' legs tied up with her own whip. Finally, they both shoved her backwards into the aisle. Miss Dodds tried to get up, but she didn't have the room to flap her wings, so she just kept falling down. Zeus will destroy you, she promised. Hades will have your soul. Prakas mias visimen, I yelled. I wasn't sure where the Latin came from. I think it meant eat my pants. Thunder shook the bus. The hair rose on the back of my neck. Get out, Annabeth yelled at me. Now. I didn't need any encouragement. We rushed outside and found the other passengers wandering around in a daze, arguing with the driver, or running around in circles yelling, We're going to die. A Hawaiian-shirted tourist with a camera snapped my photograph before I could recap my sword. Our bags, Grover realized. We left our. Boom! The window of the bus exploded as the passengers ran for cover. Lightning shredded a huge crater on the roof, but an angry wail from inside told me Miss Dodds was not yet dead. Run, said Annabeth. She's calling for reinforcements. We have to get out of here. We plunged into the woods as the rain poured down, and the bus in flames behind us, and nothing but darkness ahead. Going to take a brief intermission here. I will be right back. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Where were we? Chapter 11. We visit the Garden Gnome Emporium. In a way, it's a nice thing to know that there are Greek gods out there, because you have somebody to blame for when things go wrong. For instance, when you're walking away from a bus that's just been attacked by monster hags and blown up by lightning, and it's raining on top of everything else, most people might think that that's just really bad luck. When you're half blood, you understand that some divine force really is just trying to mess up your day. So there we were, Annabeth, Grover, and I, walking through the woods on the New Jersey riverbank, the glow of New York City making the night sky yellow behind us and the smell of the Hudson reeking in our noses. Grover was shivering and braying, his big goat eyes turned slit pupil and full of terror. 3 kindly ones, all at once. I was pretty much in shock myself. The explosion of bus windows still rang in my ears, but Annabeth kept pulling us along, saying, "Come on, the further away we get, the better." All of our money was back there, I imagined. All of our food, our clothes, everything. Well, maybe if you hadn't decided to jump into the fight, what did you want me to do? Let you get killed? You didn't need to protect me, Percy. I would have been fine. Sliced like sandwich bread, Grover put in, but fine. Shut up, goat boy, said Annabeth. Grover brayed mournfully. Tin cans. Perfectly good bag of tin cans. We sloshed across the mushy ground, through nasty, twisted trees that smelled like sour laundry. After a few minutes, Annabeth fell into line next to me. Look, her voice faltered. I appreciate you coming back for us, okay? That was really brave. We're a team, right? She was silent for a few more steps. It's just that if you died, aside from the fact that it would really suck for you, it would mean the quest was over. This may be my only chance to see the real world. The thunderstorm had finally let up. The city glow faded behind us, leaving us in almost total darkness. I couldn't see anything of Annabeth except a glint of her blonde hair. You haven't left Camp Half-Blood since you were 7? I asked her. No, only short field trips. My dad, the history professor. Yeah, didn't work out for me living at home. I mean, Camp Half-Blood is my home. She was rushing her words out now as if she was afraid somebody might try and stop her. At camp, you train, and that's all cool and everything, but the real world's where the monsters are. That's where you learn whether you're any good or not. If I didn't know better, I could have sworn I heard doubt in her voice. Pretty good with that knife, I said. You think so? Hey, anybody who can piggyback a fury is okay by me. I couldn't really see, but I thought she might have smiled. You know, she said, maybe I should tell you. Something funny. Back on the bus. Whatever she wanted to say was interrupted by the shrill toot toot toot, like the sound of an owl being tortured. Hey, my reed pipe still worked, Grover cried. If I could just remember a fine path song, we could get out of these woods. He pulled out a few notes, but the tune still sounded suspiciously like Hilary Duff. Instead of finding a path, I immediately slammed into a tree and got a nice sized knot on my head. Added to my list of superpowers I did not have infrared vision. After tripping and cursing and generally feeling miserable for another mile or so, I started to see a light up ahead, the colors of a neon sign. I could smell food. Fried, greasy, excellent food. I'd realized I hadn't eaten anything unhealthy since I'd arrived at Camp Half Lead Hill, where we lived on grapes, bread, cheese, and extra lean cut of nymph prepared barbecue. This boy needed a double cheeseburger. We kept walking until I saw a deserted 2-lane road through the trees. On the other side was a closed down gas station, a tattered billboard for a 1990s movie, and one open business, which was the source of the neon light and the good smell. It wasn't a fast food restaurant, like I'd hoped. It was one of those weird roadside curio shops that sell lawn flamingos and wooden Indians and cement grizzly bears and stuff like that. The main building was long, like a low warehouse surrounded by acres of statuary. The neon sign above the gate was impossible for me to read, because if there's anything worse for my dyslexia than regular English, it's red cursive neon English. To me, it looked like Hontium mes gridin gonem meporium. What does it say? I asked. I don't know, said Annabeth. She loved reading so much. I forgot she was dyslexic too. Grover translated. Auntie M's Garden Gnomes Emporium. Flanking the entrance, as advertised, were two cement garden gnomes, their ugly, bearded little runts, smiling and waving as if they were about to get their picture taken. I crossed the street, following the smell of hamburgers. Hey, Grover roared. The lights are on inside, Annabeth said. Maybe it's open. Snack bar, I said wistfully. Snack bar, she agreed. Are you too crazy? Grover said. This place is weird. We ignored him. The front garden was a forest of statues, cement animals, cement children, even a cement satyr playing the pipes, which gave Grover the creeps. Blah, he beat it. He bleated. Looks like my Uncle Ferdinand. We stopped at the warehouse door. Don't knock, Grover pleaded. I smell monsters. Your nose is clogged up from the Furies, Annabeth told him. All I smell is burgers. Aren't you hungry? Meat, he said scornfully. I'm a vegetarian. You eat cheese enchiladas in aluminum cans, I reminded him. Those are vegetables. Come on, let's leave. These statues are looking at me. Then the door creaked open. Standing in front of us was a tall Middle Eastern woman. At least I assumed she was Middle Eastern because she wore a long black gown that covered everything but her hands, and her head was completely veiled. God's book did not age well. Her eyes glinted behind a curtain of black gauze, but that was about all I could make out. Her coffee colored hands looked so old, but well manicured and elegant, so I imagined she was a grandmother who had once been a beautiful lady. Her accent sounded vaguely Middle Eastern, too. She said, Children, is it too late to be all alone? Where are your parents? They're, Annabeth wanted started to say. We're orphans, I said. Orphans, the woman said. The word sounded alien in her mouth. But my dears, surely not. We got separated from our caravan, I said. Our circus caravan. The ringmaster told us to meet him at the gas station if we got lost, but we may have forgotten. Or maybe he meant a different gas station? Anyways, we're lost. Is that food I smell? Oh, my dears, the woman said. You must come in, poor children. I am Auntie M. Go straight through to the back of the warehouse, please. There is a dining area. We thanked her and went inside. Annabeth muttered to me. Circus caravan? Always have a strategy, right? Your head is full of kelp. The warehouse was filled with more statues, people in different poses, wearing all different outfits, with different expressions on their faces. I was thinking you'd have to be a pretty huge garden to fit even one of these statues, because they were all life-size. But mostly I was thinking about food. Go ahead, call me an idiot for walking into a strange lady's shop like that just because I was hungry, but I do impulsive stuff sometimes. Plus, you've never smelled Auntie M's burgers. The aroma was like laughing gas in a dentist chair. Made everything else go away. I barely noticed Grover's nervous whimpers, or the way the statue's eyes seemed to follow me, or the fact that Auntie M had locked the door behind us. All I cared about was finding the dining area, and sure enough, there it was, back at the warehouse. A fast food counter with a grill, a soda fountain, a pretzel heater, and a nacho cheese dispenser. Everything you could want. Plus a few steel picnic tables out front. Please sit down, Auntie M said. Awesome, I said. Said Grover reluctantly. We don't have any money, ma'am. Before I could jab him in the ribs, Auntie M said, No, children. No money. This is a special case, yes. It's my treat for such nice orphans. Thank you, ma'am, Annabeth said. Auntie M stiffened, as if Annabeth had done something wrong. But the old woman relaxed just as quickly, so I figured it must have been my imagination. Quite all right, Annabeth, she said. You have such beautiful gray eyes, child. Only later did I wonder how she knew Annabeth's name. We'd never really introduced ourselves. Our hostess disappeared behind the snack counter and started cooking. Before we knew it, she'd brought us plastic trays heaped with double cheeseburgers, vanilla shakes, and extra large servings of french fries. I was halfway through my burger before I remembered to breathe. Annabeth slurped her shake. Grover picked at the fries and eyed the tray's waxed paper liner as if he might go for it, but he still looked too nervous to eat. What's that hissing noise? He asked. I listened, but I didn't hear anything. Annabeth shook her head. Hissing, Annabeth said. Perhaps you hear the deep fryer oil. You have keen ears, Grover. I take vitamins. For my ears. That's admirable, she said, but please, relax. Auntie Em ate nothing. She hadn't taken off her headdress, even to cook, and now she sat forward and interlaced her fingers and watched us eat. It was a little unsettling, having someone stare at me when I couldn't see her face, but I was feeling satisfied after the burger, and a little sleepy. I figured at least I could do was try to make small talk with our hostess. So, you sell gnomes? I said, trying to sound interested. Oh, yes, Auntie Em said, and animals, and people. Anything for the garden, custom orders. Statuary is very popular, you know. A lot of business on this road? Not so much. No, since the highways have built most cars, they do not go this way now. I must cherish every customer I get. My neck tingled, as if someone else was looking at me. I turned, but it was just a statue of a young girl holding an Easter basket. The detail was incredible, much better than you see in most garden statues, but something was wrong with her face. It looked as if she was startled, terrified. Auntie Em said softly, "You notice some of my creations do not turn out well. They are marred. They do not sell. The face is the hardest to get right." "Always the face. You make these statues yourself?" I asked. "Oh, yes. Once upon a time. I had two sisters to help me in the business, but they have passed on, and Auntie Em is alone. I only have my statues. That is why I make them. You see, they are my company." Sadness in her voice sounded so deep, so real that I couldn't help feeling sorry for her. Annabeth stopped eating. She sat forward and said, "Two sisters?" "A terrible story," Auntie Em said. "Not one for children, really. You see, Annabeth, a bad woman was jealous of me long ago when I was young. I had a boyfriend, you know, and this bad woman was determined to break us apart. She caused a terrible accident. My sisters stayed by me. They shared my bad fortune as long as they could, but eventually they passed on. They faded away. I alone have survived. It's such a price. It's such a price." I wasn't sure what she meant, but I felt bad for her. My eyelids kept getting heavier. My full stomach was making me sleepy. Poor old lady. Why would somebody want to hurt somebody so nice? "Percy," Annabeth was shaking me to get my attention. "Maybe we should go. I mean, the ringmaster will be waiting." She sounded tense. I wasn't sure why. Grover was eating the wax paper off the tray now, but if Auntie Em found that strange, she didn't say anything. "Such beautiful gray eyes," Auntie Em told Annabeth again. "My, yes, it has been such a long time since I've seen gray eyes like those." She reached out as if to stroke Annabeth's cheek, but Annabeth stood up abruptly. "We really should go." "Yes." Grover swallowed his wax paper and stood up. "The ringmaster is waiting, right?" I didn't want to leave. I felt full, content. Auntie Em was so nice, I wanted to stay with her for a while. "Please, dears," Auntie Em pleaded. "I so rarely get to be with children. Before you go, at least won't you sit for a pose?" "A pose?" Annabeth asked wearily. "A photograph. I will use it to model a new statue set. Children are so popular, you see. Everyone loves children." Annabeth shifted her weight from foot to foot. "I don't think we can, ma'am. Come on, Percy." "Sure you can." "Sure we can," I said. I was irritated. It was Annabeth for being so bossy, so rude to an old lady that just fed us for free. "It's just a photo, Annabeth. What's the harm?" "Yes, Annabeth," the woman purred. "No harm." I could tell Annabeth didn't like it, but she allowed Auntie Em to lead us back out the front door into the garden of statues. Auntie Em positioned us to a park bench next to the stone satyr. "Now," she said, "I'll just position you correctly. The young girl in the middle, I think, and the two young gentlemen on either side." "Not much light for a photo," I remarked. "Oh, enough," Auntie Em said. "Enough for us to see each other, yes?" "Where's your camera?" Grover asked. Auntie Em stepped back, as if to admire the shot. "Now the face is the most difficult. Can you smile for me, please, everyone? A large smile." Grover glanced at the cement satyr next to him and mumbled, "That sure does look like my Uncle Ferdinand." "Grover," Auntie Em chastised, "look this way, dear." She still had no camera in her hands. "Percy," Annabeth said. Some instinct warned me to listen to Annabeth, but I was fighting the sleepy feeling, the comfortable lull that came from the food and the old lady's voice. "I will just be a moment," Auntie Em said. "You know I can't see you very well in this cursed veil." "Percy, something's wrong," Annabeth hissed. Wrong, Auntie Em said, reaching up to undo the wrap around her head. Not at all, dear. I have such noble company tonight. What could be wrong? That is Uncle Ferdinand, Grover gasped. Look away from her, Annabeth shouted. She whipped her Yankees cap onto her head and vanished. Her invisible hands pushed Grover and me both off the bench. I was on the ground, looking at Auntie M's sandaled feet. I could hear Grover scrambling off in one direction, Annabeth in another, but I was too dazed to move. And then I heard a strange rasping sound above me. My eyes rose to Auntie M's hands, which had turned gnarled and warty, with sharp bronze talons for fingernails. I almost looked higher, but somewhere off to my left, Annabeth screamed, No! Don't! More rasping, the sound of tiny snakes right above me, from about where Auntie M's head would be. Run, Grover bleated. I heard him racing across the gravel, yelling Maya to kickstart his flying sneakers. I couldn't move. I stared at Auntie M's gnarled claws, tried to fight the groggy trance the old woman had put me in. Such a pity to destroy such a handsome young face, she told me soothingly. Stay with me, Percy. All you have to do is look up. I fought the urge to obey, and instead I looked to one side and saw one of those glass spheres people put in gardens. A glazing ball or a gazing ball? I could see Auntie M's dark reflection in the orange glass. Her headdress was gone, revealing her face, a shimmering, pale circle, and the hair was moving, writhing like serpents. Auntie M. Auntie M. How could I have been so stupid? Think, I told myself. How did Medusa die in that myth? But I couldn't think. Something told me in that myth Medusa had been asleep when she was attacked by my namesake, Perseus. She wasn't anywhere near asleep right now. If she wanted, she could take those talons right now and rake open my face. The one-eyed great monster did this to me, Percy, Medusa said. She didn't sound anything like a monster. Her voice invited me to look up, to sympathize with a poor old grandmother. Annabeth's mother. The cursed Athena took me from a beautiful woman into this. Don't listen to her, Annabeth's voice shouted somewhere in the statuary. Run, Percy. Silence, Medusa snarled. And then her voice modulated back to a comforting purr. You see why I must destroy the girl, Percy. She is my enemy's daughter. I shall crush her statue to dust, but you, dear Percy, you need not suffer. No, I muttered, trying to make my legs move. Do you really want to help the gods? Medusa asked. Do you understand what awaits you on this foolish quest, Percy? What will happen if you reach the underworld? Do not be a pawn of the Olympians, my dear. You would be better off as a statue. Less pain, less pain. Percy! Behind me I heard a buzzing sound, like a 90-kilogram hummingbird in a nosedive. Grover yelled, Duck! I turned, and there he was in the night sky, flying in from 12 o'clock with his big winged shoes fluttering, Grover holding a tree branch the size of a baseball bat. His eyes were shut tight, his head twitched from side to side. He was navigating by ears and nose alone. Duck, he yelled again. I'll get her. That finally jolted me into action. Knowing Grover, I was sure he'd miss Medusa and nail me. I dove to one side. At first, I figured it was the sound of Grover hitting a tree, and then Medusa roared with rage. You miserable satyr, she snarled. I'll add you to my collection. That was for Uncle Ferdinand, Grover yelled back. I scrambled away and hid in the statuary while Grover swooped down for another pass. Kerwhack. Arg, Medusa yelled, her snake hair hissing and spitting. Right next to me, Annabeth's voice said, Percy. I jumped so high, my feet nearly cleared a garden gnome. Jeez, don't do that. Annabeth took off her Yankees cap and became visible. You have to cut her head off. What? Are you crazy? Let's get out of here. Medusa is a menace. She's evil. I'd kill her myself, but Annabeth swallowed as if she were about to make a difficult admission. But you've got a better weapon. Besides, I'd never get close to her. She'd slice me to bits because of my mother. You've got a chance. Look, what? I can't. Look, do you want her turning more innocent people into statues? She pointed to a pair of statue lovers, a man and a woman with their arms around each other, turned to stone by the monster. Annabeth grabbed a green gazing ball from a nearby pedestal. Polished shield would be better. She studied the sphere critically. The convexity will cause some distortion. The reflection size should be off by a factor of. Would you speak English? I am. She tossed me the glass ball. Just look at her in the glass. Never look at her directly. Hey guys, Gro- Grover yelled somewhere above us. I think she's unconscious. A roar sounded. Maybe not, Grover corrected. He went in for another pass with the tree branch. Hurry, Annabeth told me. Grover's got a great nose, but he'll eventually crash. I took up my pen and uncapped it. The bronze blade of riptide elongated in my hand. I followed the hissing and spitting sounds of Medusa's hair. Kept my eyes locked on the gazing ball so I would only glimpse Medusa's reflection, not the real thing. And then, in the green tinted glass, I saw her. Grover was coming in for another turn at the bat, but this time he flew a little too low. Medusa grabbed the stick and pulled him off course. He tumbled through the air and crashed into the arms of a stone grizzly bear with a painful oomph. Medusa was about to lunge at him when I said, "Hey!" I advanced on her, which wasn't easy, holding a sword and a glass ball. If she charged, I'd have a hard time defending myself. But she let me approach. 10 meters. 5 meters? I could see the reflection of her face now. Surely it wasn't really that ugly. The green swirls of the gazing ball must be distorting and making it look worse. You wouldn't harm an old woman, Percy, she crooned. I know you wouldn't. I hesitated, fascinated by the face I saw reflected in the glass, the eyes that seemed to burn straight through the green tint, making my arms go weak. The cement grizzly Grover moaned. Percy, don't listen to her. Medusa cackled, too late. She lunged at me with her talons. I slashed up with my sword, heard a sickening sh, and then a hiss, like wind rushing out of a cavern, the sound of a monster disintegrating. Something fell to the ground next to my foot. It took all my willpower not to look. I could feel the warm ooze soaking into my sock, dying little snakeheads tugging at my shoelaces. Yuck, Grover said. His eyes were still tightly closed, but I guess he heard the thing gurgling and steaming. Mega yuck. Annabeth came next to me, her eyes fixed on the sky. She was holding Medusa's black veil. She said, "Don't move." Very, very carefully, without looking down, she knelt, draped the monster's head in the black cloth, and then picked it up. It was still dripping green juice. You okay? She asked me, her voice trembling. Yeah, I decided, though I felt like throwing up my double cheeseburger. Why why didn't the head evaporate? Once you sever it, it becomes a spoil of war, she said. Same as your minotaur horn, but don't unwrap the head. It can still petrify you. Grover moaned as he climbed down from the grizzly statue. He had a big welt on his forehead. His green rasta cap hung from one of his little goat horns, and his fake feet had been knocked off by his hooves. The magic sneakers were flying aimlessly around his head. The Red Baron, I said. Good job, man. He managed a bashful grin. It was really not fun, though. Well, the hitting with a stick fire, that was fun, but crashing into a concrete bear, not fun. He snatched his shoes out of the air. I recapped my sword. Together, the three of us stumbled back to the warehouse. We found some old plastic grocery bags behind the snack counter and double wrapped around Medusa's head. We plopped it onto the table where we'd eaten dinner and sat around it, too exhausted to speak. Finally, I said, "So we have Athena to thank for this monster." Annabeth flashed me an irritated look. Your dad, actually. Don't you remember? Medusa was Poseidon's girlfriend. They decided to meet at my mother's temple. That's why Athena turned her into a monster. Medusa and her two sisters, who had helped her get into the temple, they became the three Gorgons. That's why Medusa wanted to slice me up, but wanted to preserve you as a nice statue. She's still sweet on your dad. Probably reminded her of him. My face was burning. Oh, so it's my fault that we met Medusa. Annabeth straightened in a bad imitation of my voice. She said, It's just a photo, Annabeth. What's the harm? Forget it. I said, You're insufferable. You're insufferable. Hey, Grover interrupted. You two are giving me a migraine, and satyrs don't even get migraines. What are we going to do with the head? I stared at the thing. One little snake was hanging out of a big hole in the plastic. The words printed on the side of the bag said, We appreciate your business. I was angry, not just with Annabeth or her mom, but with all the gods for this whole quest, for getting us blown off the road in 2 major fights the very first day from our camp. At this rate, we'd never make it to LA alive, much less before the summer solstice. What had Medusa said? Do not be a pawn of the Olympians, my dear. You would be better off as a statue. I got up. I'll be back. Percy, Annabeth called after me. What are you? I searched the back of the warehouse until I found Medusa's office. Her account book showed her 6 most recent sales, all shipments to the underworld to decorate Haiti and Persephone's garden. According to one freight bill, the underworld's building address was DOA Recording Studios, West Hollywood, California. I folded up the bill, stuffed it in my pocket. In the cash register, I found $20, a few golden drachmas, and some packing slips for Hermes Overnight Express, each with a little leather bag attached for coins. I rummaged around the rest of the office until I found the right size box. I went back to the picnic table, picked up Medusa's head, and filled out a delivery slip. The Gods, Mount Olympus, 600th floor, Empire State Building, New York, New York. Best wishes, Percy Jackson. But they're not going to like that, Grover warned. They'll think you're impertinent. I poured some golden drachmas in the pouch. As soon as I closed it, there was a sound like a cash register. The package floated off the table and disappeared with a pop. I am impertinent, I said. I looked at Annabeth, daring her to criticize. She didn't. She seemed resigned to the fact that I had a major talent for ticking off the gods. Come on, she muttered. We need a new plan. And I believe that will be the end of chapter 11. I believe this draws our time to a close this evening. Regrettable that we didn't get through 3 chapters, but I am happy that you were able to join us this evening. As always, have a wonderful night, and thank you so much for joining us. This has been Kinitsugi.